out the Castle Podcast. I'm Queen Deborah.
I'm Queen Emily.
And we are queens of our castles, keeping the domestic arts alive. It is April 8th, and this is episode 69. So, we're back, and today we have a whole bunch of finished objects to share, so that's going to be fun.
Lots and lots.
So we will stick with our usual format of life update, sharing finished objects, then works in progress. Then we have our getting to know you question, which Emily is going to ask this time, and any shop news, anything like that. So
excellent.
Let's get started right into it with what has been going on in life.
I don't even know what's been going on in my life.
Everything and nothing.
Yep, we're getting busy with Heroic Youth for the new year. So
Ethan moved.
Yep, and my oldest son Ethan and his wife Tannen moved a couple hours away. He's been attending university online because they could not get housing up in the area where he would need to be, and they finally got that sorted out. So he's very happy to not have to do online classes anymore, and they've moved. We've just been busy and enjoying the gradual, as Deborah has often reminded me, we're just fading in spring, right? Like when you're fading one color to the next.
Yep. Yes. I would like to be done with the color of winter right now.
I know, but it's going to get cold again tomorrow. It's beautiful today.
Not dramatically, but it'll get colder next week.
Yeah. We had snow. What day was that? Tuesday?
2 days ago? 3 days ago?
Yeah, we had more snow again. But anyway, it's just...
I was saying, in the winter time, you're used to winter, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But as soon as we have one nice day, my tolerance for cold dips to zero.
And you're like, nope, no more.
And all of a sudden I'm like, why is it so cold? And it's warmer than it's been, but I can't handle it. And I have been cold nonstop since for the last 2 weeks. I just feel like I can't warm up. So today I'm very happy. Very happy for it to be a balmy 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, one other thing I should mention is that my youngest, Abby, is in a Shakespeare play. And we've talked in previous years. It's weird that we've been doing this long enough to say, well, in previous years we've talked about this. About our children participating in Shakespeare. And this is our last Shakespeare play for our family because she's going to be done with it after this year. So
it's a big deal. It's good to go through it, but at the end, I'm just going to tell you, it's like,
great to be done. It doesn't mean she'll never do Shakespeare again, but in this class.
In this specific class and the format, which is fabulous, which is why we put in all the effort. Yep. But I'm like, no more costumes.
Yep.
No more props,
so I had to remake kind of a costume. She is in Comedy of Errors, and they've kind of done a gender swap of Comedy of Errors. So if you're familiar with Comedy of Errors, it has 2 sets of male twins in the original, and in this one they're doing female twins. So she's one of the 4 twins, we'll put it that way.
I don't think did they have any boys this year in that class?
Yeah, they have 4 boys.
They have 4.
And I think 14 girls.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. Anyway, so she is one of the twins, which means that, the other twin, they have to have exactly matching costumes, but not all kids are exactly the same shape. And so we had to kind of do some alterations to get them to fit them the same with their different body shapes.
I'm just imagining you and I dress the same, Emily.
Oh my gosh, that would just so about work. Yeah.
That would be so awkward.
Of course, we're a more dramatic difference. These two are not a dramatic difference. They're like within a size or 2 of each other.
Sometime we should try it and just see how it feels.
It sounds like a lot of work because we would have to make something. We would both have to make matching dresses that fit us the same way, which would be kind of funny. Anyway, yeah.
And neither of us would be happy.
Exactly, because it wouldn't be quite you and it wouldn't be quite me. But anyway, so that was a fun project.
That's good.
But yep.
I've just been dyeing yarn, and working on just a lot of projects for upcoming Fiber Arts Fair. I'll talk about that at the end. But also working in the garden. Yay. I'm so thankful that at least for the last 2 weekends, it may be cold and stormy throughout the week, but on the weekend,
it's beautiful.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So, and this weekend should be nice too. So I'm just very happy about that. So we're just trying to prep the garden and build new support structures for our raspberry beds, because we put something in before I knew anything about it. I just saw a picture of one online. I'm like, hey, well, let's do that. And we did it. And I'm like, that doesn't support a single thing. I don't understand.
What was the point of it?
What's the point here? Yet we've kept it there for 3 years because it's like, a project to redo. So I showed my husband what I wanted, and he kind of just looked at me and he's like, okay. Because essentially, I mean, it's the cost and work of building an entire fence, you know, like we're doing big heavy duty posts, like 4x4 posts. Now he's the one that he always takes my idea and he ups it. So he's like, well, but that's not good enough.
It reminds me of
Let's
like
make it better.
the old show Home Improvement, and how the main character Tim would always be like, more power.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm like, I don't think we need 4x4 across the sides, like to hold it together. Like a 2x4 is fine, or whatever. Like, he's like, well, if we're gonna buy the posts, we might as well do the whole. Anyway, it looks great. It looks fabulous. And then he got solar powered post covers, like on the top, like the finial kind of things, to put on top. So now there's lighting in it, but we've got to finish the last row. So anyways, that's great. I'm working on starting seeds. They're mostly up in my cold frame. So some are even ready to transplant once the weather is warm enough. And I'm just trying to weed that giant garden bed and hopefully build some raised boxes, like for raised gardens, because I want to change things up a bit. We are really struggling with pill bugs or potato bugs, roly-polies, like to the extreme. It's pretty bad. So I'm kind of nervous about planting anything right now till we get that under control. And I've been kind of researching a lot of natural methods of getting rid of them, or at least reducing the population. And I discovered the reason that we have so many is that every few years we put down a nice thick layer of compost and then a thick layer of wood chips to help with the moisture, like keeping the soil damp, because we live in a really, really dry climate. And that's where they breed. That's where they live and love it, is in wood chips. So every year they're just increasing and increasing and increasing until now we're at the tipping point. So I didn't even notice that it was a problem before, and now it's an issue. So no more wood chips. No. And new plans. So
fun stuff. Yeah, we're not really doing much of a garden this year because we're completely reworking where our garden is going to be. And anyway, it's a big transition year. So I'll have like my little box and a couple pots, and that'll be it this year.
Yeah, we've been in the transition years for the last 2 years as we redid everything in the front. And I'm so glad now that we've done it.
Yeah.
And that we're beyond that now.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're on the other side. So anyways, let's move on to finished objects. Emily,
excellent.
you both have a stack. Oh, I forgot to.
What did you forget?
Darn it. One of the super cute ones.
Oh.
I'll show pictures.
Okay.
I'll talk about it and show
Good
pictures.
plan.
Okay.
Okay. I think I showed these in progress last time, and I didn't even grab sock blockers or anything, so just forgive me. But I finished
No forgiveness.
Okay, never mind. I finished these scrappy socks, and they just turned out really cute. I think they turned out so cute.
Yes, this is the
I
pair
really
when I
enjoy it.
became obsessed with your scrappy socks. Not just scrappy socks,
just-
scrappy socks.
Oh,
I'm like,
that's sweet.
you know what? You just have a knack for it.
I like scrappy things, and I like that to me, the best kind of scrappy sock is going to have a variation of wider stripes and narrower stripes, and it will have a variation of more like solid colors and speckles in a way that just kind of flows.
Darks and lights.
Darks and lights. So I like
Just
that kind of contrast.
So fun. Love them.
Anyway, these are going to go in my gift box because I made that. Well, they'll be for one of my family members that I'm not going to mention. So
Fun.
anyway, so those turned out great. I usually do a slip stitch heel, but I did an Eye of Partridge heel. Let's see if you can see it.
And the difference between those two?
So a slip stitch heel is generally where you would slip the first stitch, knit the second stitch, slip, knit, and then every row you're slipping the same column of stitches and knitting the same column of stitches.
On the wrong side.
And on the wrong side you're just purling back across. Whereas the Eye of Partridge heel, the wrong sides you're still purling, but you're alternating. So where you would normally slip, knit, on the next right side row, you're knit, slip. So it's kind of like the difference between 1x1 rib or seed stitch, only using the slip stitches, if that makes sense, where you're alternating. And it just gives a nice little texture. I don't enjoy making Eye of Partridge heels. After I did this, I said, oh yeah, that's why I don't do these anymore. You have to just pay a lot more attention. And generally, if I am knitting a sock, especially if I'm knitting a stockinette sock, it's muscle memory. I've just knit a lot of socks. And so I don't have to think about it. I don't have to really pay attention. I just do it without even realizing it. So anyway, but it was fun to do something different. So I think they turned out really cute.
Now I have to focus on what did I do.
Oh no, Deborah, what did you do?
No, I can't remember if I wound the self-striping yarn where I need to pull from the center or the outside.
Oh no.
Gotta figure out the order.
So as my kind of typical recipe, I did a 20 round cuff. And this one has, I think, a 60 round leg. And then I work my heel, flap, gusset, heel, flap, turn, and gusset. And once I finished the gusset for this size, I did a 65 round foot before the toe decreases. And so this is like a large like a women's size 10 or 11 US sock. US shoe size 10 or 11. There you go. That's what I'm trying to say. Cast on 64 stitches, knit on 2.25 millimeter needles, and there you go.
Super cute. Super
Those
cute.
are fun.
Okay. I was debating on showing this or not, but I'm showing it because it was a lot of work.
Why are you debating on showing it?
I don't want to get into it.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Anyways.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I finished my tiki room cowl.
It's so beautiful.
And it took me forever. Why did it take me forever? Well, I figured out when I was blocking it. This could be a sweater. It's big enough to be. All I needed to do was add sleeves and a yoke, and I even contemplated that.
Deborah, just add straps. Let me get a tank top.
I'm just picturing the straps right here. Okay. Anyways, it is a large, like every round except for like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 8 rounds maybe are all color work.
Oh,
and
my
so
goodness.
like I almost knitted a whole sweater if I made it, if I added, no, okay, a partial sweater in color work. But I'm proud of it. There's things that I have learned. So first of all, I started out, it has you use a smaller needle to, the pattern, first of all. Pattern, I love her patterns. I've talked about her before, Tannis Gray. She has a whole bunch of really fun color work projects. That's her specialty. And I'm just gonna show this first page. So it's the tiki room cowl. And interestingly enough, I had yarn very close in color already in my shop, which was Mermaid Lemonade and Snow Cone. And I used my DK Bloom base. Okay. So I was use a smaller needle for the garter ridge and then a larger needle for the color work, which that makes a lot of sense, you know. And I typically do my color work with one strand, one color in each hand, and I can catch my floats easily and quickly that way, knit it pretty quick, and seemed to go pretty well. Now it's been blocked, so it looks lovely.
It really does.
But once I got up here to the birds, I don't know why, I was fed up with holding them in each hand. And I'm like, I'm just gonna drop and pick up and drop and pick up. And I did that, and all of a sudden I noticed that my tension was perfect. Like I was working really hard to keep it even and perfect down here, and it still was like good enough. But once I came up here, it was almost laying perfectly flat without any blocking and any catching. Like it just was lovely. So I discovered that that is my method for color work. And I actually moved faster on it because I didn't have to constantly readjust the tension in my left hand, because I typically knit with my right hand, you know, hold tension with my right hand, and trying to keep them even in my left hand and my right hand, I struggled with the left one. I was constantly fidgeting, trying to fuss with that, trying to get the tension the same, which is why I got fed up with it. And finally just drop, pick up, and it just moved. It moved so much faster at that point. So it's really fun. Her patterns are all really fun, really easy to follow, really well written. Just they're simple. They're charts. It's a picture. It's like a grid, and this stitch you knit one color, and this stitch you just look at what grid, you just knit that color. Now, catching floats doing it that way is more finicky if you're dropping, picking up, dropping, picking up. But overall, it just moved faster. But once I got to the top, I switched to a smaller needle, and the top was just floppy. Doesn't matter how, like, it didn't match the bottom. So my gauge had obviously changed since starting it on the bottom. And the bind off I did 3 times maybe, because, you know, you're always worried about doing the traditional bind off where you knit 2, slip 1 over, then the next one, slip 1 over. I don't know if that makes sense, but that always ends up being kind of tight. So I was worried about that, so I did it too loose. So then the next time I tightened it up, still wasn't tight enough. So next time I'm like, really tighten it up, and it's like, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know why I was struggling with that, but I'm happy with it. It's cute, and it will be extremely warm.
Yes, it will.
And it's one that I can like wear down over my shoulders even. Like it can drape down in the front. It won't be an up close. It'll be like a drape down. I'm not putting it on because I look fabulous and I don't want to mess up my hair.
I just saw Nadia just then. That's something exactly how Nadia
I learned
would
it
do.
from Nadia. She's so cute.
She is.
Well,
cute.
I'm trying to live with my natural hair. Okay, not my natural hair color. I've been doing that, and it's not been working out for me. But my hair texture and everything has changed over the last several years, and I'm just fed up with trying to coerce it to do what I want. So now I'm trying to do what it wants. And I was not happy this morning, and then I put the scarf in, and I'm like, oh, now I'm looking good. I gotta like go places. So we're here.
Sorry, this isn't really places. So that's a
Gotta go somewhere else too.
the downside.
Anyway, so I'm not putting this on. So there's my story.
That's great.
Okay.
Okay, next up, because I'm trying to vaguely go in chronological order, is this Sidewinder beanie. I also showed this in progress last time. And again, it is showing very like harvest pumpkin orange to me on the screen.
This color is so hard to capture.
It's definitely
on
like
camera.
almost like a tangerine corally color in person.
So pretty. It's like soft while being vivid.
I know. Anyway, it's really beautiful in person. But this was really fun. So the pattern is Sidewinder Beanie by somebody. Aspen Leaf Knits Ginny Jones. Let me see if I can show this. So that's the pattern. Oh, that was fun. What were we doing there? There we go. And the interesting thing about it, it was knit in a super bulky, I knit it in a Manos del Uruguay, but I don't remember what the name of it is now. Oh, it's this. Franca. Manos del Uruguay Franca, which is 114 yards to 150 grams. And so it's a super bulky, and I think it's 100% superwash merino. And then the color name is Marshmallow. Anyway, it's really fun. It knit up so small. This is like a child's size slouchy, but not an adult size hat. It's quite small.
Well, and it'll look big, but the bulky weight actually takes up a lot of the room.
Yeah, it really does. I'm still going to add a pom-pom to it and a tag. But I'm not really thrilled with the fit of it. I knit it on, this was the hardest thing, was needles actually for me, because it's not something I normally do this bulky. I do have another skein of super bulky, the Malabrigo, what is it? Is it Rasta? That's the really bulky one. I have a gorgeous, like, deep eggplant color one. This was knit, this is what you had to have. US size 13, which is a 9mm on a 16-inch circular, and a US size 15, 10mm on a 16-inch circular, and size 15 DPNs, which I didn't have, so I borrowed some DPNs from Deborah.
Which
anyway,
they weren't 15s.
They were 13s because that's what we had.
That's the biggest I could get.
That's what we had.
So
I had
the same issue.
It's hard to find those bigger needles, and there's really only one thing I would ever use them for, which is to knit a super bulky hat. But it was fun to knit it. It was really enjoyable. And I really enjoyed the pattern. It's the kind of pattern where you're basically doing the same thing every row, but just shifted over one stitch.
Yes.
Does that make sense? So like, once you know what it is, you didn't have to look at the pattern or anything. You just, oh wow, I just saw a mistake. We'll pretend that doesn't exist.
You should point it out so that everybody
here, I'll point it out. Look right here. That stitch is a mistake. It's not supposed to be like that.
See, nobody would ever know. But
I know. Now everybody knows.
And that's all they'll see from now on.
All the times that you're going to see this exact beanie in your life. But anyway, it was really fun to make. I will make that other hat, or another hat, a different pattern with my other super bulky yarn. And then I will probably give away my needles because I don't foresee me knitting these things.
That's what my girls want.
Oh, there's another
mistake.
mistake.
All the big bulky.
Yeah, well, they're fun and cute. I mean, they really are like trendy, but this definitely needs to be knit bigger in order for it to fit an adult. And I'm not going to put it on because I also look fabulous. So it's just, that's how it rolls.
It's a fabulous day.
We really are just fabulous today. So it was fun though. I really enjoyed the knitting of it. And that's really what you want. You want to enjoy the process.
Yep. I also want to enjoy wearing the finished object if it's for me.
But yeah, I mean, this is definitely one I can put a pom-pom on. It'll go in my gift basket. It could work for one of my nieces, or I could save it in my grandma basket, or who knows what, there'll be time in the future. I wish you could see how cute it actually is in person. It's just so much cuter than what's showing up on the camera. Stupid camera.
You said the S word, Emily. Yes. Okay.
Oh, we're feeling goofy today.
Oh, boy.
Okay, now I got to count the rows while you're talking.
Okay. So I've been on a quest to finish everything. And this project is one that I started for my sweet friend Amy, who's Taylor Studios. For her baby, Johnny. We were having a virtual baby shower. And I just couldn't decide what to make and finally I had a friend who had this yarn she was getting rid of, and I went, that is the perfect yarn, because this was one of the colors that Amy said that she was wanting for the nursery and for his clothes and stuff. So and it's great for baby knits because it is machine washable. It's acrylic and nylon, so I mean you can just throw it in the washing machine. So I went on a quest to find a simple baby pattern because Amy can knit the most amazing things, and yet she likes really simple. So I wanted to make something really simple, and I found this pattern on Lovecrafts, and this is the whole pattern for the cardigan. It's a free one on there, and I can't tell you what the name is. It's Hooded Jacket number 147-T17-436. Good luck. So I thought I better do a 3-month size because that's the size I wanted for him when he was going to be old enough to need cold things for cold weather. And I knit half of it, and it was way too big for him. I mean, her oldest son Jack, he's like this little tiny thing. He's still tiny. And so I'm like, her son probably is going to need preemie. Well, he was okay. He's like a normal size infant, and he's adorable, so cute, but it was too big. So anyways, I set it aside and started a new one, and I just finished it. I haven't put buttons on because I finished this last night, and it has a hood.
Cute.
And it has garter ridge on like the shoulders, the torso, this part here, garter ridge, and then the rest is stockinette stitch. It is all seamed, and I have lots of ends to weave in. This had like 40 billion 70 ends. Because I was not smart enough to leave long enough tails to seam it up with. So every piece had 2, plus the 2 from here, plus the seaming here, plus the seaming around later, plus I did back stitch, and I did not realize how much length it would take, so I had to do it twice, so 2 more, like, anyways. Okay, so I did just like the mattress stitch seaming on the sides and on the shoulders, and then I did back stitching to set in the sleeves and the hood. So now I have a cute little baby cardigan. I'm just looking at this and thinking, oh, thank goodness I didn't send it to Amy, because quality of the construction here is lacking.
She would have loved it though, but she loved what you made her.
So cute little cardigan that's gonna go in a drawer for next time I need a little baby gift for somebody who has a baby that's going to be this size in the winter. But the 3-month size, I would say, is more like a 6-month size, not 3 months.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and my gauge was spot on. Would I recommend this pattern? No. Because unless what you want is like measurements and stitch counts, that's all, then this would be great. But otherwise, here's one of the instructions. On right edge, cast off 4 stitches once, 2 stitches twice, and 1 stitch once. On following 4th row, cast off 1 stitch once. I figured out what it means, but that took me a while.
And doing it wrong, and then having to redo it, right?
Anyways, and that's kind of how the pattern just is. So that's just an example of one of them. So it's just like, the old-fashioned knitwear patterns for babies. It just assumes that you know a lot of things, and there's very little instruction, and it's fine, but it's done. It's done. The yarn is fabulous, though.
And I got to look at the yarn again. Plymouth yarn. So, Dream Baby DK.
It's very soft.
It is very soft.
Very soft.
Very nice.
Not as soft as the yarn that we felt the other day. That was, what was it? It was on our text group in our knit night.
Yeah.
It was an alpaca acrylic blend.
What was it?
I don't know. Anyways.
It was an Ella Ray.
Yeah, Ella Ray.
Alpaca.
Ella Ray alpaca. And it was, I think it said something like chunky, but it's worsted weight. And it is so soft.
Yeah.
so soft, not scratchy at all if you put it up against your neck because it has alpaca. It's machine washable, but really drapey. But it would be great for like a baby blanket because it's so soft. So I've got to get myself some of that.
Excellent.
Okay, and I have no idea how much it used because I had like 4.5 of these. I made one and then started the other and mixed up, and I really have no idea how much yarn it used, so can't really tell you.
So here is another pair of scrappy socks, and I think these are gorgeous.
These are very like berry autumnal.
Yes, aren't they pretty?
Yeah.
I
colors.
love these so much. I started out, I have a very sad story about this yarn.
Oh wait, let me look at that one.
It's actually this, no, it's this one. This was yarn that I got from Deborah. This was a one of a kind. I think, well, 3 of a kind or something like that.
I had a batch, just.
But I loved it, and I don't remember what I made with it originally. Probably, I actually don't remember what I did with it originally, but I had probably 40 grams left. And so I used it for the heels, toes, and cuffs of my socks here. And then I had enough left, but I thought I could get, at least put it into another project. I probably had 50 grams left now that I think about it, because I could have probably done at least heels and toes again, or toes and cuffs or something on another pair of socks. But I put it in my little jar. I have a jar. Well, it's not a little jar. It's like a cookie jar, big jar of my kind of, I call them partial skeins. They're scraps, but they're not the itty bitty bitty ones. They're like this much yarn or maybe a little bit less. And I had a candle next to it. And I opened my jar, and the candle was burning. I opened my jar and took out a different thing, and it bumped that one, and it fell into the candle.
Lit the house on fire.
Did not. Put the candle out immediately. And it like extinguished the candle when it fell in and soaked up all the wax. So sad.
Well, you've preserved it in all its glory. You've waxed it.
I kept looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. And I thought, if this was a whole skein of yarn, this would probably be a different conversation. But it's 20-ish, maybe. Probably not even that much. 15 grams of yarn. Okay. I threw it in the garbage, and I was so
Would have been a good fire starter, Emily.
I should have kept
Wasteful.
it. Anyway, but I just had a lot of fun knitting these. I knit these in 3 days because I
don't even remember seeing these.
I don't think I ever even took a picture. Like a lot of times I'll take pictures when I start something or when I'm, part the way through. But I just like picked them up, and then I just went zoop, and then they were done. And they're so cute. But I love how they turned out. They're just so cute. There's a few of yours in here, Deborah. I know this one is yours. And I'm pretty sure, I know this one right here is a Yarn Cafe Creations. Right there. And then this one, this is yours, Deborah, I think.
I'm having a hard time
It's like
seeing.
a cocoa or something.
I have.
And then this one is from your gingerbread.
Anymore.
This is gingerbread.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, some other things. I know that like this one is mine. There was a tiny bit of Just Jane in there. One of my from my very first collection that I ever did. Anyway, fun. I just really love them. That's all. I'm just admiring them. I think they're gorgeous.
We should all admire them.
They're so
On
pretty.
your feet. And then hold it up.
I know. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to put these in my drawer. The good thing is I have time to wait. This is what I do. I'll often put things in my gift basket, like I can give these away. And then sometimes I'll be like, no. And I take them out and put them on. So.
Okay. On to the finishing of all of my projects. I decided that it had taken me long enough. I needed to finish my scrappy blanket, my granny stripe blanket. And I've shown it several times. I started it a year ago, January, on my birthday.
Pretty.
Emily helped me, and it is done. So I was, wrong way. Last time I showed it, I was right here. So I did just that much more. I was trying to decide. I just would hold it up and think, will that tuck under my toes and come up to here? Yes. So that's how I measured how long I needed it to be. So that's how long it is. I'm 5'4.25". Don't forget the quarter. No, half. After going to the chiropractor for years, I'm 5'4.5". So.
Ooh.
Anyways, I did that and I thought, am I going to put a border on this? I just left it for a while and then decided it needs a border, and it needs a white border because there's so many colors in here. I was thinking I could do a speckled, I could do a solid color, and I thought it'll just be way too busy because this is already busy enough to do white, and I thought it needs to be wide. So I had a lot of scraps of my bare fingering weight yarn, my sock yarn, and I just grabbed all of those and thought, well, if I need more, I'll get more. But I needed a pattern for it. So I went looking and found on Etsy the crayon box blanket and pictures of the border. It was a nice wide border and it kind of had a lacy edging on it. It's hard to see on here, but initially, just looking at it, it looked like the construction of the blanket was pretty much what I had already crocheted. So I thought, that'll be great. I can just throw that border on. Great. So I got started and realized that was not going to work. So I pretty much adapted row 1 and then row 2. And by row 3, I realized I've just thrown the whole thing out the window. So
You're just making your own pattern.
So I did clusters of 3 double crochet and all the way around. And then the next row I did, I don't even know what it's called. The pattern called it a, did they say half double crochet? No, I don't remember what they said, but it's like you wrap yarn around the hook, insert it, pull it through all the stitches on the hook at once, all 3, instead of 2 and then 2. So instead of it being a half double crochet, you just pull it through all the
Yeah, that's a half
loops.
double, isn't it?
I'm so confused.
That is. That's a half double.
Okay, what is it when you pull it through 2, then pull it
That's
through
a
2?
double crochet.
What were they called? I don't know what they were called. I don't know. I'm so confused. I did a half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, chain 1. But once I got to the sides, sorry, I did that here. Once I got to the sides, it ended up flaring out. It was too much. So I had to stitch or skip every fourth one. Is that what I did? I think. And then I had the same issue on the next one. The next one I did double crochets in every single stitch, but on the sides I had to do it like every 4th one as well. Then I started going on to a lacy border and scallopy border and realized I hated it and it looked perfect like this, so I ripped it out and left it like that.
It looks very neat and tidy.
And I like it. Where I was learning and first starting and figuring it out, I don't know what I did there. It doesn't really matter though.
It's a design element. Add a loop to it.
But the other corners I figured out and I got it how I wanted it and it looks nice. So here's my details. Okay. I used an E-hook, which is 3.5 millimeters, and I had a viewer leave a comment saying that I might like Furl's crochet hooks, so I went on a search for that, and at the time I couldn't ever get a hold of this size, but I finally got a hold of one and started crocheting away and thought, oh, I like this, but it increased my gauge quite a bit, so I put that away. I went, okay, that won't work for this project because I need the gauge to stay the same. So I went back to this one, and I really like this one. And it was 38.5 ounces total. And I think that the border took approximately half of a skein, so like 50 grams-ish. And so 38.5 ounces, I don't know what that translates into as far as how many skeins that used, but I used a whole bunch of scraps.
Well, 3.5 ounces is 100 grams, so it would be a little bit more than 10.
I had it figured out and realized I was doing it wrong. But anyways, I did 246 rows of double crochet clusters, 3 double crochet, and then skip 3 double crochet. And I didn't use any specific pattern. I said, Emily, what do I do? And she said, Deborah, do this, and I did it.
Well, and I used the
Attic crochet.
the Attic 24.
Attic 24 pattern. And so just with the 200 and I did 78 clusters across of the half double crochet clusters. So that's how many I did all the way across this way. And it measures approximately 45 inches wide. I have a picture of me holding it up this morning, slightly awkwardly. So you can see the size of it. And it's about 45 inches wide before the border, and the border adds about 1.5 inches-ish. So it's wide enough to wrap around me this way, wide enough to tuck under my toes and pull up to here, so if my nose is cold.
Exactly what you need.
And I did differing amounts of stripes, like rows per stripe. I did between 2 and 6. It just depended on how much yarn I had and how the colors felt, and how I chose the colors were if they looked like something like candy or yummy enough to eat, and it was fun, happy colors, then I put it in. That's kind of the only one I wish I didn't put in was this one, which is funny because that's the one that a lot of people pick out and they're like, "Ooh, that's my favorite," but it's not. I don't feel like it goes so much, especially with these on either side. It's too autumn harvesty there. But you know what?
It looks a little bit like that 70s show.
Yeah. And but, you know what? 70s colors are my least favorite.
Yeah.
So I think that's why. But I like the yarn. I just don't like it in that combination in this blanket. But overall, it all blends in, and it doesn't really matter. So the one thing that I did adapt was when you turn for the next row, I think that the pattern has you crochet or chain 3 and turn. I found that I needed to do 2 because it was getting too loosey-goosey on the edges, and 2 for my gauge ended up kind of cinching it in. And then I wove in all of the ends, and I stuck a dot of glue, this glue on it, because I don't want it coming undone.
Smarty pants.
It is a fabric glue, and I just kind of like went into the stitch and just put a little tiny dot in there, and then when it was all dry I snipped them all off because I didn't want to run the risk of anything coming loose. But it's also a softer, flexible one that's still washable. Kimberly, you were asking me about what you could use. That's what I say. Okay, there's my project.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Okay,
so this next one was a gift, and so I have already given it to the recipient, my mom, our mom.
Yeah,
for her birthday. Too. So I knit the Calliope sweater, and it was a really fun knit. Our friend Margaret had knit this sweater, and she posted a picture. She's knit by Gramsy on Instagram, and she posted a picture of herself wearing it, and I think it was that day after she posted it, I was like, I'm making that. I used a yarn from Hobby Yarns that is called Zafira, but it is a discontinued yarn, so
it seems to be the case.
Yeah.
That like it's there for a minute and then gone.
Well, and I got it as they were discontinuing it, and so I bought 2 different colors, and I bought them in 10 skein packages. Each ball is 50 grams, and I bought 2 different colors, 10 balls of each, and this one used 6 balls of that. This is a picture of what that sweater looks like. It has that beautiful ribbed neck right there, and it has a long rib on the cuff. And the whole time I was knitting it, I thought, I don't know if she's gonna like this. I don't think she's gonna like this. I don't think she's gonna like this. I thought this yarn is too scratchy. The yarn was one of those where it's like a cotton tube, mesh tube, and then they blow in the fibers, wool and acrylic blend. So It was scratchier than I expected it. It had a slub texture as you knit it. And anyway, the whole time I kept thinking, I don't think she's going to like this. And then I finished the whole thing and I thought, it's not going to fit her. She's not going to like it. But I almost didn't give it to her. And I just said, okay, I'm just going to give it to her and hopefully she'll enjoy it. So it turned out beautifully. It did just turn out really gorgeous. And I put one of my little tags on it and I gave it to her. And it was so fun because it was just our other sister, our baby sister, Alexis, baby sister. I don't know why I said that. Our youngest sister, she's not a baby. And my mom and I, and it was so fun because my mom, because she's just with the two of us, we were at our sister's house. And she was like, ooh, ooh. And she just stood up and she pulled her shirt off and put it on. And she was like, yes. And it fit her so cute. It's so her color and she loved it. So I'm really glad I didn't listen to all my doubts and I just gave it to her. But she's so beautiful and she looks so beautiful in it. And it was great. Big success after all that doubt.
I'm glad that you did give it to her, because what else were you going to do with it?
Well, exactly. I mean, I thought my daughter-in-law might like it, but I think that the same questions I would have for her would be the same for my mom. Yeah. And anyway.
And what other color of yarn do you still have in that?
So I had this blush color that I made for my mom, and then I have kind of a soft, very kind of grayish, bluish green color. I don't remember what the name of the color is, but it's kind of a sea, let's call it that, a sea green.
Oh, okay.
But very muted and soft and lovely. So, yeah.
I've shared all of my finished objects of knitting or crochet, but I have two that are sewing and one is hanging up back here. This is a bit of a drama. I bought this fabric. Didn't know exactly, I know I was going to make myself a dress with it, so I bought enough to make a dress. And then I decided on a pattern, which was this one. But in the end, I had just enough to make this length without the pockets with the shorter sleeves. Just enough. And I even used the little scraps to make like little quilted heart things that I use in photos and stuff. So I used all the fabric, which I'm quite proud of. Good. But I am not one to make a mock-up typically, because like knitting, you can knit a swatch and do something small, and if that doesn't work, you rip it out and you can use it again. The fabric, we're gonna buy fabric, cut it up, sew something to see if it'll work for me to sew it with a different fabric, and then what do I do with that fabric? It's like buy the cheap stuff that you can toss, and I don't like waste. So what happens is I run the risk of not loving the finished object, and that may be wasted. Well, it can always be worn by somebody, but it may not fit me exactly. But so I made this one, and with the construction of it, like I could fit it somewhat, but I really like finishing details. I kind of sewed some together and like, I think that'll work. And so I did all the finishing on it of the felled seams and added extra stuff that it didn't call for in the pattern so that it would be finished really beautifully. And then I put it on. I had the whole bodice done. I just didn't do the skirt yet, and it was too big. And it was like a size too big. And I thought, well, that might be okay. And I just was waiting for a bit. But then I got sick throughout the winter and I lost, some weight. So now it's way too big. And I'm like, this is not going to work. I'm gonna have to unpick it because I can't like just take in seams here or there. I have to unpick the whole thing and start again. All the top stitching, all the felled seams, all of that. Press it, recut it, and start again. So I had to go get the next pattern that was the next size down. And anyways, so it sat there for months. Because also I just didn't feel well, so I didn't bother with it. So it sat there and it just became part of my sewing room decor. Until one day I was like, oh yeah, that dress over there, I should probably finish that. And so I got it out and I just sat down one evening and I'm like, I'm just gonna start it. We'll see how long it takes. I mean, there were 2 seams that were annoying, and after that, it was so fast. It took me almost no time. I was so like, Deborah, you should have just done it already. That's part of sewing, though. If you think that sewing is never making a mistake, you never have to use a seam ripper, sewing is all at the sewing machine. No, most of it is ironing, cutting, pinning, measuring, unpicking, with a little bit of actual sewing thrown in. That's just part of the process. So just unpicking an entire bodice, not my favorite. So I did it, and then I remade it, and I love it. I love the fit of it, and it has pockets, so I am happy about the pockets. The only thing I haven't done, which I didn't know if I would need or not, I definitely need, is to add in belt loops. So I need to add some belt loops because it just wants to ride up. So
do you have fabric for belt loops, or are you going to
no,
do like
I'm going to do the little
like the thread ones,
so that you don't really see them on the side.
Yeah.
So I'll do the little thread loops, but I'm very happy with it, and now I have a spring dress.
That's so fun.
I bought the fabric at Joann's.
It's beautiful. It's really beautiful on you.
I am very, very happy with the fabric. I really loved it, and I didn't want to waste it, and I didn't waste it. So
it's beautiful. All right. So I have another pair of socks. These were also a gift from my friend Jen. And it was kind of fun because this is yarn I bought quite a while ago, because she told me that I've made her socks before, and she says, I really would love a pair of brown socks. And I just thought, I can't knit a pair of plain brown socks. As much as I love you, I just don't want to, because she's talking like dark brown. But I found this yarn, and it's Red Heart and Soul is the name of the brand, and it is in the Riverstone colorway. And yeah, so these were just a pair of vanilla socks, so they're stockinette, and I again knit those very quickly and gave them to her. She lives a ways away, and she happened to be up here visiting the day after I finished them, so it kind of worked out perfectly for me to be able to give them to her. And I also kind of liked that the yarn had, a belly band, a ball band around it, and it fit perfectly around the finished pair of socks. So that's always nice too.
And they're like, thank you.
There you go.
For the band around it.
So there's another pair of socks that I finished.
Okay, my last finished object is another sewn item, and it's for the garden.
There's more drama.
No, it's always a drama. My beautiful linen blue-gray apron that I made for gardening that I would wear every day just about, it disappeared last summer.
Oh.
I went to help my dad in the garden at his house and thought, I better grab that. Took it with me and used it and came home, and the next day I didn't have it, but it wasn't at their house.
It was like put on top of your car or something.
Clue.
Who knows?
It's gone. And somebody out there has found it, and I hope that they appreciate it. Because they probably are like, what's this wrinkled mess? And anyways, so I've been without a gardening apron. So I was shopping with my mom for fabric for an Easter dress for her, and found at Hobby Lobby this fabric that's like, it's not twill, it's kind of like a denim, but it looks like this kind of crinkled stone washed one, and it's kind of soft but still durable. So I got 1.25 yards or 1.5 yards. Like, I'm gonna make myself another one, but not exactly the same. I don't know what. So I just went out to my sewing room and I pulled out the fabric and I started holding it up, and I'm like, looks good, cut. And I'm like, looks good, and cut. And
Nice.
I used every scrap but like this much of the fabric, and I have my apron. I better stand up here.
Oh yeah.
So it's another crossover. I wasn't going to have it crossover, but I didn't have enough length to do something else that I was going to do with ties. And then in the end, I'm happy with it. But, it won't mess up my hair.
Don't mess up your hair,
No.
Deborah, because you look
it's gonna
fabulous.
mess up my hair.
Oh.
Okay. Ow.
Oh,
It's
that
okay.
looks painful.
Okay.
That's cute.
So,
Nice.
pockets. Gotta have pockets. Ooh. I can tell I've been gardening. There's a lot of sticks and twigs in here. I mean, I've been working hard. So the whole point of this is that I could go out wearing what I'm wearing and not worry about getting all messed up. I just put this over it. I make it long enough to cover my knees, so it goes just past my knees. And it just slips on, doesn't require any fuss or anything, and then I just take it off and hang it back up in my sewing room, which is right next to where all my gardening stuff is. Oh, now getting it off. That's gonna be the problem, Emily.
How's your elbow, Deborah?
My elbow's fine.
Okay, good.
Now I can't get it off with the earrings. It's caught. Okay.
You're good.
So it's normally not a drama to get it on and off. But, So I have no pattern to tell you other than this is a rectangle, the width of the fabric. I did not hem the bottom. It's the selvage edge. I made a little waistband to gather it in to the length I want, or the width I wanted it. I made a bib front that's double thickness and straps with the length that I had available that's doubled, and pockets based on the amount of fabric I had left over, and it was wide enough or tall enough that I was like, oh, I'll fold it over and make it a little cute like design element. So
Cute,
with
cute.
adorable little buttons. So I now have another gardening apron.
That's beautiful. That's really nice. Excellent. Are you cold? Sorry, is my house cold?
I told you I'm always cold right now. So I've got a blanket though. I'm good.
Okay, good. All right, I still have 3 finished objects.
Okay, you show
so
yours,
I'm gonna
'cause
go
that's
quickly.
the end of mine.
These are all baby items. I kept making all these baby items and I kept having to say, no, there are no grandbaby announcements. I just wanted to make baby things.
I know, when you kept asking about that, I'm like, so Jason, maybe there's an announcement coming soon?
There is no announcement. So first off, I really have wanted to make some of these for a long time. Hold on, let me find
Amy
what I'm trying to
showed
say.
some that she had kind of designed.
Yes, Amy,
Taylor Studios.
Taylor Studios made some little baby pants and or leggings, and I just had to make some. So I made these, and they're so cute. I'm sorry, but and look at that, extra large bum to cover a baby diaper. Oh, they're so cute. I love how they turned out. Isn't that yarn fabulous?
Yes.
Okay, so let me tell you about the yarn and the pattern. The pattern is Smarty Pants, and it's a free pattern on the Pearl Soho website. And that's just the cutest baby right there. So you can tell that baby's wearing a cloth diaper. Needing that extra big bum. So cute. The only alteration I did to the pattern is the casing here at the waistband. I made it 2 rows longer. So it's one of those where you do a provisional cast on and then you knit so many rows and then you do a purl row, which ends up being this kind of your fold point. And then you knit the same number of rows that you did before the purl row. And then the next round, you knit your provisional stitches together with it. So it folds over and makes this little case.
So does that mean it's actually 4 rows, or did you do 1 row on?
Yes, so I did
side?
2 rows on either side of that
Okay.
purl row additional. So the whole casing is 2 rows taller.
Okay.
And then the other thing is that it had originally 1 little buttonhole for the drawstring. So both ends would come through the same hole. And I chose to do 2. So that was the only change I made to it. Everything else I did exactly as written. And the yarn I'm using here is actually another one of those surprise. This is acrylic yarn.
We're just noticing how much they've upped their game and such lovely
Very
options.
nice. This yarn is
Really
so
nice.
great. It is from Hobby Lobby as well. It's Yarn Bee Spinesse, which is SPINESSSE. So it's like spinesse, like that. And 3 S's. And it is just gray, the gray color. And I got this on 30% off. I spent $2.79 for this ball of yarn to make these little pants.
Is just fantastic.
And it's machine
so
washable
soft.
and dryable. It's extremely soft. And it's a pleasure. That's the one thing I don't enjoy about acrylic yarns often, is that I don't enjoy knitting them.
Well, a lot of times they've had like this almost squeaky texture. Like you'll work with it and it feels squeaky in your hand. But
right. This is a joy to work with. It's very enjoyable, and it's a fingering weight. It doesn't say it's a fingering weight. It says, in the typical kind of mass produced, it says it's a 3. It says it's a 3 light, which often a 3 can be anywhere from a fingering weight to a DK, so you just have to pay attention. But this is definitely a fingering weight. I did a wraps per inch, and I apologize, I don't remember what that was, but that's how I determined the weight. There were 350 yards in the ball. So anyway, turned out so cute. They look like little sweatpants, don't they? They're just really so darling. Also with that same yarn, using the I think it's called, mustard, I knit this project. Let me pull this up. This is a little dress that I made, and it's been folded up, and so it's not looking as, when I first blocked it, it just looked sharp as can be. This is called Mooty by Tyga Hilliard. And again, I used the same Spiness yarn in the mustard colorway. I haven't put buttons on the back yet.
I tried blocking the pieces for the baby cardigan that I did, wet blocking, soaking it and pinning it out.
This blocked.
Did not
look at that lace.
At all.
Look how beautifully the lace blocked out. It blocked beautifully. All I did to block it is I put it in the washing machine, which the one downside to that is apparently we had washed a rug right before it. And so it picked up some fibers, some lint. But I just washed it in the washing machine, and then I took it out and then just laid it flat. I didn't even pin it or anything. I just laid it flat, and it blocked sharp.
That's nice.
As can be. So I do need to still put buttons on it, but I just think it's darling. And it was a super fun, very easy little pattern to make. This is the size, I want to say 3 to 6 months. Is that right? 0 to 3. It's a size, no, I did the 0 to 3. So this is a size, I would call this like a 3-month size. So anyway, that turned out just as cute. And I knitted exactly to the pattern. Except, no, I'm just joking. Exactly to the pattern. I do have a mistake in this one, which we won't pay attention to.
Don't even have to
But isn't that cute? Isn't it just cute as can be? Oh, I just want to make more baby things. I have
things like that.
I have this yarn. I have 2 balls in a deep teal color. So I don't know what I'll make with those, more baby things. The whole purpose of this was I was looking for yarn to knit baby things so that they could be easy care. And along those lines, I crocheted this blanket, which is, I used the Sleep Under the Stars blanket by Paint Box Yarns as the pattern for this. And I had made one of these blankets a couple years ago for a friend who was having a baby. And I had enough left over of the same yarn to make another one. So here it is. Sorry, Deborah.
It's okay. You can hide my fabulousness with the beautiful blanket.
So this was super, super fun to make. I made it on used a 5 millimeter hook. Is that correct?
See, this one is better not to wrap a baby
but
to lay on the ground for the baby. Because look how cute.
I know. Isn't it cute?
It's the play blanket. Play on the ground
fun.
blanket.
So it's actually a size 6, which is a 6 millimeter, which is a USJ hook that I used for this. And this is just a worsted weight acrylic that, again, I had for several years. So I honestly don't know what the yarn is. But it's a nice one. It's
a lofty, squishy one.
Lofty and squishy, not squeaky or scratchy, but also not super, I mean, it's just kind of basic. But it just turned out so cute, and it was a blast to make. Again, crochet, you forget sometimes that when you knit a lot, you forget how fast it is to crochet a blanket using a worsted weight yarn and a big hook. It was just like, oh, whoops, I made a blanket.
Especially when you do socks and you're working with finger and weight, and then you're like, whoa, that grew so fast. After finishing my crochet blanket, I kind of got burned out on it in the middle of the year, and I'm like, I shouldn't have started this. And then I just wanted to finish things. So I thought, I'm just going to pick it up and just consistently work on it, and just working on it a little bit each day. When I was on the border, I was really sad, and I was like, oh, it's almost done. But now what am I going to crochet?
I want to make more of these. I have to say, okay, first of all, here's the test. You have to go like this. Bundle it all up. You go like this. And you go.
That's as big as a baby right there. Yes. Is it going to work? Yes.
That's how I tested it. Okay, yeah, that'll work. So it'll definitely be the kind that you wrap up a littler baby in, and then it will be it'll be a whoopee is what it'll be.
It is really cute.
I love it. It's so fun. But I want to make some more of these, and like the pattern, is kind of more rainbowy. I thought that would be super fun to do more of that kind of style.
I did forget to bring one project.
Oh.
I made some hats.
Ooh.
And they are so cute. I was making hats for a little girl in our ward, in our church congregation. She's almost 2 years old. Actually, I think she's 2 years old now. Yeah. She was diagnosed with leukemia this last fall. And she's been just going through all of the treatments, which are really rough, and she's losing most of her hair. And her mom said she finally just shaved her head, and she said, my daughter was fine, but I cried and cried and cried. And I said, oh, I'll make her some hats because it's cold, and it was snowing and storming that day. So I thought, okay, I better get started. So I started planning and designing and figuring out what I was going to make, and I got started on it right away, and then it turned to spring the next day. And I was like, it's too hot for these hats. But at the same time, I had a sweet girl who was in my Crowned with Virtue club. I've talked about those in the past. They're the clubs that I did for our homeschool group for 8 to 11-year-old girls. So one of them, she got a Addie King Size Express knitting machine because she was doing a lot of hats for kids in the hospitals, and she was doing a really big service project with that where she was making hundreds of hats. And I was like, can I buy some hats from you? And because I'm like, well, we gotta hurry and get some hats on her head, on this poor girl's head. And she got right on it and made like 4 that day. And then I thought, oh, and now we don't even need all these hats because it's not even cold. I'm cold, but thyroid issues and me. So I'm just always like that. But so I took those 4 over, which were adorable hats. They're so cute. This sweet girl who did them on her machine, I was just telling her what she liked. She liked really bright colors, stripes, patterns, whatever. I'm like, so whatever yarn you've got, or I'll go buy some, or whatever, and she just put her whole design heart into it and did the sweetest hats. So in the end, I didn't even need the hats that I made because those took me forever to finish. I mean, I started them, but she got these done in a day, and it took me a couple weeks to make mine. So I have hats now. So when I need to give a gift to somebody, I'll have them. But I used yarn that I bought from Hobie, and it was the yarn that's discontinued. I used it when I designed the Littlest Elf hat. I just bought a whole bunch of it, and I started out wanting to make hearts, but then once I got to like just a triangle part of the color work, I thought it was so cute with just the triangles that I just did all triangles instead. And I used, once again, you can't see in the pictures, but it is like a neon coral. It looks like just orange, but it's
so
more
bright, like highlighter almost.
It is.
Yeah.
It is so fun and so bright. I want to make some for me like this. So I made one and thought this one is going to be way too big because it fit Nadia's head. So I made another one smaller. So I've got 2 of them now, but now I want to like figure out, kind of write this up so I can make one for me. So
cute.
Yeah, that whole thing was just a fun project, and I'm glad we got some hats to her still like that day, because it still gets cold at night. It's still cold enough at night, and so
and like in the mornings, it's
Yeah.
cold. Yeah.
So we still got some to her, but I felt bad because it took me a lot longer than needed to do the hats that I did, that I made. Okay.
Well, I cannot believe this, but we are an hour and 10 minutes in, and we just finished our finished objects.
Well, I have one work in progress.
I've got 3, but yeah, we're not.
What time is it? We got to see.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're fine.
Okay, well,
Okay.
why don't you get started then?
All right, well, I'll show you the ones I'm working on right now. I am knitting currently
I've got 2.
a pair of socks. This is my sock pattern called Francis socks, which are available on yarnberry.com. And it's just, I love this. I don't know if you can see it. Oh yeah, this all over texture pattern. And they just are so fun to knit, and they kind of make it squishy without making them tight. We've talked about this pattern before. It's honestly one of my favorites, just because it can work with almost any yarn, and they're just really fun. So this was a one-of-a-kind colorway from the Yarnberry, and those are going to be a gift as well. So
I knit a pair with that pattern. I really like it.
I do too. I really enjoy it. So I am just starting my toe decreases on my second sock. So the first one's done, and
are these for your gift box or for
you?
Yep,
these are for a gift box, for the gift box.
I used to have a gift closet back when I had the luxury of having a closet dedicated to something random like that. Then it went to a gift drawer. Now I have gift drawers, but
I don't usually have that many.
Well, and it's not always handmade things. If I'm out somewhere and I see a really good deal on something that I think that would make a great gift, I'll get it, put it in the drawer. And that's what happens like when my girls have a birthday party or whatever.
Yeah.
They go to that first and they're like, will something in here suit the person? And so that's what we do.
There really isn't anything as nice as handmade socks.
It is really nice.
They're a luxury item. I do realize
I've
that
made
handmade
some
socks.
for a friend who didn't understand why handmade socks. And I went, okay.
I know there are. Yeah, I know there are people who don't understand it, but mostly if I give somebody a pair of handmade socks, they are like, I mean, they are so excited.
Yeah.
So just look at the speckles and
very pretty.
You just can just really enjoy your yarn, you know. And I've been doing all these scrappy socks, but to then just pick up one skein of yarn and just knit it from beginning to end, there's also something really satisfying about that too.
And I think that these also look really nice. Like
they're very
my
wearable.
Favorite to wear.
Yeah.
I prefer to make all of the colorful, crazy, fun patterns, but to wear, I like this type of thing.
I'm with you on that.
Okay, here's my other my other work in progress that now I'll be putting my effort into, my attention into. I set it aside because first of all, I was quite sick and I didn't knit at all or crochet or sew or do anything. And then I hurt my hand, and so then I couldn't do anything. So it kind of just went, oh, this isn't going to be done before the winter is over, so I'll just work on the other things when I can. So I have my Stash Dive Raglan by Summerlee Knits. It's knit bottom up, and you hold 2 strands together. You hold a DK
Worsted.
with, was it worsted? We figured this out before.
I'm pretty sure you said worsted.
With fingering scraps. And I just had some bare, like undyed worsted. I've seen some where they used like a color like red or blue and then held scraps with it. but I liked the example where it was with the bear because it shows off the colors that you've got there a little bit more, I think. And I just pulled out a whole bunch of scraps and I just looked at them together and thought, do these make a good like overall whole? Kind of like with the blanket. It's essentially the same colors as my blanket that I just finished. Same kind of concept. And this has taken forever to make because essentially I'm doing freestyle color work because you're just adding in colors and blips and catching floats and doing like color management all the time, but it's fine. I have really enjoyed it. I think I may have almost finished the sleeve last time. I'm making like a 3/4 length sleeve. I'm trying to remember because it'll go up to about there because typically hands in water, doing dishes, stuff like that, I end up pulling up or rolling up my sleeves anyways, and I thought I'm going to make it that length to begin with. So, especially with bulky, I didn't want to be dealing with bulky and all of the ends folded up or so I'm just going to make it like this long to begin with. And so I think I was finishing this one last time and I've got the second sleeve started. So it's not like there's a lot to the sleeve, so I just have half more of it to go, and then you join them all together and then start going around and decreasing, doing raglan decreases. So this bag is mostly all just the scraps, and when I'm done with that, then with all of those scraps, because they almost don't even seem to be going down with this sweater, then I can start on the scrappy cowls and socks and have Emily help me put together color combinations. So, because all my scraps are, not all of them, but a lot of them are in here. So I'm going to just start putting my attention into that primarily.
It's going to be so great.
And it's really hard not to cast on more things, but I just want to finish that sweater. Like, I'm just itching to cast on more stuff today.
I know what you mean. Okay, so the next thing I have to show you are my colorwork mittens. And I finished the first one. So let me pull that one out. Where are you? Hello, mitten. Where are you? Oh, there you are. So my first mitten is done. And it fits really well. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Oh my goodness. It looks so neat. Now it's not blocked, but it still does look really beautiful. Anyway, oh, I just love it. Isn't that fun? This is the Songbird. Is that right? Songbird mitts. By Erica M. Huser. Songbird mittens.
Oh, mittens. Okay.
So that is the pattern. And I am using Knit Picks palette. And the white is just, I think, called white. And the blue is called Celestial, I believe. Yes, Celestial. And so anyway, I had finished the first one and I am right here on this second one. And this first mitten I knit by picking up and dropping the yarn. This one I am working on knitting it, holding the strands in either hand, and I'm having the opposite experience of what you had.
That's interesting.
I'm finding that my tension is much more even holding it in the two hands.
It's where you see there's no one way to do something.
Anyway, but it's just, I think my favorite part of this whole mitten, as beautiful as that bird is, my favorite part is this cuff that just looks like lace.
Little scallop lacy.
Yeah, I just think that's so cute. And of course, I have this little bird progress keeper because you have to, because it's Songbird. I mean, it just has to happen. I find that I enjoy the most knitting the wrong side, or the palm, not the wrong side, but the palm, because it's a memorable pattern. So I don't need to look at the pattern anymore for this part. I can just, you know, you're just following what you were doing before. And because there's no long floats in it. So I don't actually have to catch any floats here. I don't mind catching floats. Again, when you're knitting with two hands, it's quite easy to catch the floats, and it's kind of almost fun to, I don't know, pay attention to it. But the one thing that I am seeing is that you can see my floats more. So right in here, you can see those. But I don't know how that's going to be affected once it's blocked.
I was watching a tutorial yesterday about someone where they do every stitch they catch, like, you know, they're catching the floats behind, so there are no floats. So every stitch is essentially locked in, and it created a lot more smooth fabric, like finish to it, and it was a little bit more elastic.
Which is interesting because I saw another thing of somebody who said that she does, I mean, does color work all the time, and she says, want to know my secret? I never catch a float.
And I watched that too.
And I thought, oh, see, again, there's another thing about, and now I can't imagine on a pair of mittens that I would want something that didn't have the floats caught, because you're putting your hands in and out and in and out, you know, so especially anytime like you have to pick up your phone and hurry do something and then put it back away and you put your hands back in your mittens, or, you know, whatever, like in and out when you're going out, and then when you come back inside somewhere, you take them off. So I can just imagine me catching my fingers over and over again.
Fingernail in that all the time.
Right. Yeah. So anyway.
There's no right or wrong way. There's just your preference.
Yeah. But so. I am enjoying these, but I did kind of get bored for a little bit, and I just thought, oh, I need a break. So I haven't worked on them for about a week. But anyway, those are coming along slowly but surely. Oh, so, God.
What?
I'm just talking to myself. I'm like, probably better put the pattern back in there. I'll be looking for it later.
So last time I showed a million sock tubes and the experiment with using my sock knitting machine. I had a lot of fun feedback about that, and more questions and things, but that's not today's discussion so much, other than I have a bin of sock tubes that I'm always working on. And I pulled out some Fairytale yarn and thought, okay, I want to do a sock start to finish. But I didn't know what the gauge was going to be, and so it's really hard to know where to put in a toe. So I did everything but the toe on the Fairytale yarn. So I did a couple of these, and I finished one into a pair, but it's a gift, so I'm not gonna show it. And then what am I trying to say? I did a hung hem cuff and the heel, and then I just did a foot, an approximate length, and then wound off enough to do a toe, thinking, okay, well, if it's not long enough, I have some left over, I can lengthen it. Not knowing exactly what size I wanted and what it was the gauge was going to be like anyways. So so I did 2 of those, and then I got it out and went, oh, I need a little bit extra length. So I did just pull from this to do the toe. So I knit a toe. The one thing I'll say is, and I didn't say this last time when I was talking about it, is that when you are working on a circular sock knitting machine, it goes the opposite direction of what you knit. Right. And so when you go to knit, like if you get a sock tube, most of the sock tubes you get, like there's tutorials showing you how to close up the gap, because you start picking up, but you're now going the opposite direction, which means you have half a row that's higher than the rest. And so you get kind of little gaps or pulled, you know, looser stitches on the ends, and there's tutorials on how to close that up. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, how about I just go the opposite direction? So I've been knitting a whole bunch of sock tubes the opposite direction. But when you're doing a sock, you go, I mean, I could do it the same direction, but I learned it the other way, and that would be just too much for my brain to handle. So with this one, I did pick up stitches, and you can see where I picked it up and started knitting the opposite direction. It's going to be just fine. I mean, once you're wearing it, doesn't matter, no big deal. But that is one thing to consider. So if I am going to pick up stitches and knit from a tube or from whatever, that you have that issue. So I knit this much more length and then did the toe. So now I have like the gauge of what Fairytale sock yarn knits up as, and that means I can calculate what I need for the length of the foot in order to do the toe. So I did 2 pairs, and now I just need to do the toe on this one, and I will have a fun rainbow pair of socks that's going to go in the gift drawer. And I also did another pair of socks where I just did tubes. I didn't do anything other than the tubes for it. And this is yarn that I got when Emily and I went years ago to Stitches West, and it's Buxom Cat Knits.
Yep.
It's Kathy, and the colorway of this one, I have the yarn here. I don't have the tag. I'll have to find that one for when I probably won't show them finished. But it's just this really fun, speckly, just lots of colors. I just thought it's so fun. I wanted to make them into some socks. So I did cranked tubes, picked up stitches, did the cuff, and I've got to do the cuff on this one now. I did the toes, and then I can do Afterthought heels. But this yarn is so thick. It's labeled as fingering, but it's really a sport weight. So it's quite a robust sock, because I did a tighter tension so that it would still fit with the cylinder that I have. But it's more of a boot sock kind of thickness, so that will be really nice for the fall. This is also making it look a lot more kind of crazy.
High contrast.
Yeah, it's more of fall colors in my opinion. I don't know, what does that say to you?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm gonna see if we can do it up close to kind of get an idea. But I'm just working through my bin of tubes, but my goal after May is to do the whole sock start to finish, and to figure out the ribber, because I want to figure out how to do the rib. I do like this cuff, it feels nice, but I would like to figure out the ribbing, because then you can start doing other patterns too, like a whole ribbed sock. There's lots of options. But I'm still so thankful for you, Amy, if you're watching, for the instruction you gave me. It was just so great. I'm very thankful, because I feel like I'm way farther ahead than I would have been on my own. So
such a fun new craft. I love it.
I'm enjoying it very much. So that's all of my projects.
Okay, I only have one more. Grab my yarn here. Fall off my chair in the process. So I am making this pattern, which is Bloom Your Heart Out by Inez Sang. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh, it just has the most gorgeous lace. It is an asymmetrical triangle shawl that one of those starting at a point, working to a wider end. And the purpose of this is that I had, years ago, I purchased this yarn. I purchased these 4 colors to do a birthday cast on. So I bought them for myself for my birthday. And I was going to be doing Stephen West's Mystery Knit Along that year.
We showed that in episode 2 or 3.
Oh, there you go.
You don't need to go back.
You don't need to go back. It's not that exciting. Let me tell you the story. So the 2 years previously, the year previous to that one, he had done the Doodler as the Mystery Knit Along that he released. And they always come out in October. My birthday's in October. So it's kind of like, oh, it's for my birthday. So he'd done the Doodler the year before, and the year before that was Exploration Station, both of which are fun, interesting, wearable shapes, feminine shawls. And then this year he came out, the pattern was Building Blocks. So if you're familiar with that pattern, it's just very, very different. Not me.
Geometric.
Very geometric and kind of
blocky.
Yeah.
Just not you.
Blocky. And then also not as interesting. It's kind of like just doing the same thing over and over again. So it just wasn't my favorite. So I started into it, ended up unraveling it, and just said, no, I'm not doing this. So I recently did a destash and a reorganization of all my yarn, found these again and went, I've got to make something. So I looked for shawls, and I originally was planning on these 3, just these 3 colors. I looked for shawls that were 3-color shawls, and ended up finding this Bloom Your Heart out, which I just fell in love with.
It is stunning.
It is absolutely gorgeous. Oh, it's so beautiful. The lace patterns and anyway, it's just beautiful. I didn't have quite enough of the navy, and I had a little bit of this gray left, and I thought, what the heck? So I put the gray in the place of the navy at the beginning, and then I will put it again at the end. So you get the gray at the ends and the navy in the middle. So this is Wonderland Yarns sock, which is 4 ounces. So that's roughly 115 grams, 512 yards. This is the one of the colors I'm using, so it's the same as this one. And this one I think is called Unbirthed. Oh no, Cheshire Cat is the name of this one. Or is it Unbirthday? I don't know. It says both. Cheshire Cat and Unbirthday.
It says Cheshire Cat Unbirthday number 3.
So whatever that is. I don't know if Cheshire Cat is the base and Unbirthday is the colorway or the other way around.
Or is...
whatever. It's Wonderland Yarns. So all of these are Wonderland. Oh, here, let's look at this one, what this one is called. This one also says Cheshire Cat, and it says Pink Daisies. So a collection of
Cheshire Cat.
That must be. So this one, the brighter pink, is called Pink Daisies.
And that's what people probably think all the time when they get, you know, when they're getting yarn, like, what does all this mean?
That could be.
Anyway, yeah.
So this is how far I have come so far. And I just want you to look at this lace right here with the little bauble flowers. It looks like little bunches tied together. If I had looked at this pattern, I would not have then gone and purchased these colors of yarn to make the pattern. Does that make sense? I would have gone for this very soft, kind of subtle combination. But I'm excited to see what it turns out like. So the bulk of the pattern will be made of this kind of color combination. This kind of softer pink, then the navy, and then the brighter pink. And we will see how it turns out. But I can tell you it is very enjoyable to knit. Oh, I wanted to tell you one thing about this. So here's 2 different patterns with lots of charts. And I don't want to show the charts, but I am just going to tell you with my color work, let's see, what can I show that's not going to be a big deal? Okay, I'm going to show you just the thumb here. Okay, so with my color work chart, I'm going to knit this chart one time. And therefore what I do is I print out the pattern, and as I go along, I highlight the row I just finished. So that at the end, you can see which rows you haven't knit yet. The great thing about that is I can reuse this because I can later go and highlight a different color on top of it. Does that make sense? So that's a very reusable. I often have people say I can't knit on charts because I can't keep track of them. And so this is how I manage charts. So color work or a chart that I'm only going to knit one time, I will use a highlighter.
And you know what? I go through, and mine, I have it in a sleeve like this, and I have washi tape because this is a full page. Oh, and I have a piece of washi tape, and I do a couple of rows, and then I move it up in a couple of rows and move it up.
There you go. And so that's what I was going to show you with this pattern. There's 2 charts that I'm going to be repeating. So here, I'm going to show you this one, and I'm just going to move it. And what I've done is I've just taken sticky notes, and the chart is wide enough that if I stick 2 sticky notes across the chart, like Post-its, that I can just have it right below the row I'm on, and I can move it to the top. And then when I have to do it again, I'll just move them to the bottom, and then, you know, just keep sticking them up further on the top. And then I'm writing down at the bottom of the chart how many times, just with little hashtags, or hash marks, how many times I have done this chart, completed the whole chart. And that's a way to help kind of keep track of where you are. I also have, well, it's actually my son's, but I have been borrowing it from him for several years. One of those chart minders. Yeah. I think it's a Knit Picks one, where it's kind of a little folder that snaps together, and then it has these long magnets. And so you can, and the folder itself is magnetic. So you can put the chart in there and then use one of the magnets to hold the page to the folder and the other magnet to kind of keep your spot. That works fairly well, but I tend to be a mobile knitter. I move from here to there, and it's just kind of bulky. It doesn't fit in a project bag very well. I have 2 different patterns with charts, so I don't want to have multiples of those. So anyway, I just don't always use it. But I thought I would share that some tips for how to manage your charts.
Just woven all the ends. So this sock is done.
Yay!
Okay.
Ooh, I also wanted to share one more little tip that I'm learning with this pattern, which is how to carry yarn up the side if you are doing an I-cord edge. That has been really eye-opening to me.
And where did you learn that?
And I learned it from this pattern. So I would, she actually has a tutorial that she links in the pattern. And all it is you literally are just folding it inside the I-cord. So every time you come back to your I-cord edge, what you usually do on the wrong side is just slip the last 3 stitches with the yarn in front, and then you're knitting the next row. So that yarn is coming out and around to knit your first stitch again. So you just make sure it comes out and around your ends. And what that means is that it just closes it up. And I had worried, how am I going to start all these different colors without messing up the I-cord? Well, the great thing is that I-cord looks better the longer you knit it. So the farther you are, like when you're right next to your needle, it might look kind of messy. But the farther up you get, it's because it keeps pulling it in and it keeps rolling in. And it looks nice and tidy, even with all those ends like caught inside and the color changes and everything. It just has worked. So don't be afraid of it.
It also kind of stuffs the edging and rounds it out, because
It
if you
does. It
have
makes
the
it
threads
look
through
tidy.
it's filling it out, kind of like on the binding of a
Almost
quilt.
like, yeah, almost like cording.
Yeah.
What am I trying to say? Yeah, cording.
Okay, now I gotta pick up the stitches for the foot of the second sock.
Well, all right, let's go ahead
time.
with our question, right?
Hey.
Okay,
Getting to know
so
your question.
here is a getting to know you question. And I have a tendency to always want to ask deep questions. So I sent Deborah my list. I'm like, what about this one or that one? And she's like, let's keep it a little lighter. So someday I'm going to ask a really deep question. But this one is a good one to just kind of think about and have a discussion. Maybe talk to your family about it too. But we'd love to hear you share your answer below in the comments. So Deborah, here's the question. What was your favorite age growing up? Or I'll just say any age up till now. What has been your favorite age?
Oh, well, that changes things.
I know it
Change
does.
things?
Because I would say it's the original question was growing up, but like, when do we stop growing up? You know, we're always growing up.
I'm still growing up.
So what was your favorite age and why?
Well, I think I'm still going to stick with, you know, what's funny is I didn't necessarily have an exact age, like, 8 years old.
Right.
It was, I would say, from probably like 8 to 12. Those were my golden Barbie years.
Oh, the golden Barbie.
I loved Barbies so much. Loved Barbies. I loved dressing them, making the clothes for them, playing with them. I played with them actually for far longer. I was so embarrassed I would hide to play Barbies because I was embarrassed with how long, but I loved them. But it wasn't just that. We have this conversation with my family, with my kids. Well, I asked my dad when I was young about the 50s, because the 50s when I was young seemed like this nostalgic, too good to be true kind of era. And
that was so long ago.
yeah,
right?
and it was so far back. And I'm like, Dad, was it really that great? And I was waiting for him to tell me like the things that were not great about it. And he sat there and he's like, yeah, pretty much was. I was like, oh no, I really wish I lived there. Well, now my kids say that about the 80s, and they're like, Mom, tell me about the 80s. Was it really that great? And I was thinking about it. Yeah, pretty much was. Like, I loved growing up in the 80s so much. And there's so many things I loved about it. I loved the toys, the cartoons, the colors, the patterns, the fun. And we were talking about the comparison of the two times. And both of them came as prosperous times after difficult war periods, and they changed a lot in our culture. There were a lot of things that we were discussing, my husband and I, that were similarities between the two. And I was a child, and so I didn't have adult years in the 80s. And so that does change things. So if you did, how did you feel about the 80s as an adult? But I had a good childhood, and I'm thankful for that. I am really thankful for the childhood that I had, and I loved all of it, of those fun, carefree times. And I say till 12 years old because I think at 12 years old is when there was a lot more responsibility, and it was also 90s. I like the 90s too, but I loved the 80s. It was no longer as carefree for me as it was before that. So that's what I would say. What about you, Emily?
So as hard as they were, I'm going to have to say that there's things about my childhood that I feel nostalgic about, but I think that the time that I feel that way the most is actually kind of like when I had two little kids, when Ethan and Aria were both little. Mm-hmm. And life was quite simple at the time, because even though you're tired and you never get any sleep and they're always climbing on you and there's a lot of demands on your time, there was just this, I personally was going through a lot of personal growth, and I feel like that's actually my growing up years in a lot of ways. Okay. Because I feel like I was so immature before I had kids, you know what I mean? And so
I'm still immature.
I feel like that, me too, but it's when I discovered how much I loved education. It's when, so a lot of the things that maybe I would associate with, maybe you were in high school and you just really loved this subject you were studying, or you loved this club you participated in, or, people might say that. I feel like that's when I found that. Okay. Does that make sense? I found my love for learning, and it's when I really grew to love myself more. Anyway, so maybe that is a tricky question, because it says, what was your favorite age growing up? Is what I texted you to say that we were going to do that. But maybe we can say, what is your favorite age where you feel like you came of age, or you really enjoyed yourself the most, or something?
Yeah, that changes a lot of things.
It does. I know, it does. I also have to say that as far as my whole life goes, I am at my favorite age so far.
I enjoy life.
Yeah.
I'm confident with who I am.
Yeah.
Happy with who I am. I haven't had that for most of my life. Have that now, which is really nice, because it's hard when you don't you don't have that. But
yes, I feel the same way. I love myself. I enjoy my family so much right now. They're all at just really wonderful stages of development in life. My husband and I know each other really well we celebrated on Tuesday our 10,000th day of marriage. Isn't that cool?
And how did you know to figure that out?
Somebody else, I don't even know who it was, but somebody, I think on Facebook that I'm friends with, posted one day, hey, my husband and I have been married for 10,000 days. And I went, I wonder how long that is. So I just said, I think I did, hey Siri, when will it be 10,000 days from the date of our wedding?
Great. Now everybody's going to be finding that out on theirs, because you just said
hey Siri. My phone hasn't even triggered. It's so weird. Anyway, but I realized it was coming up in 10 days from what I had said. So it it was a kind of a coincidence. So I said, Richard, it's going to be our 10,000th day of marriage on Tuesday. So we celebrated by going out to dinner and a movie, nothing that exciting, but now that we've been married for 10,000 days plus 5 or whatever it is now, we know each other really well. Just life is good. This is a good stage of life.
That's good.
I'm not free of challenges, but I feel more equipped to handle challenges. I think that's the big key. We talked about this before. Somebody said that you're not an expert when you don't make mistakes. You're an expert when you know how to fix your mistakes. And I think I'm not an expert at life, but I'm getting more expert at it than I was in the past because it's not because I don't make mistakes, but it's because I'm better at knowing how to fix my mistakes, So that's a good thing to be able to do.
Knowing that you've made a mistake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you did have me all nostalgic last night, Emily, going to bed thinking about Rainbow Bright, Strawberry Shortcake, Care Bears, all of those things that I remember watching. Woody Woodpecker. I watched Today's Special. Today's Special.
It's about to appear. Sorry, Jeff.
That was such a dumb show.
We loved it, though.
Oh, there were a lot of things like that.
That's
And I was
so
just
fun.
thinking about it. There were a lot of things that I really loved. Emily and I, when we were growing up,
we're 4 years apart, just to give you a frame of reference.
we kind of became thick as thieves, I think, when you were maybe 17,
Yeah,
18,
probably about then.
17. And we would stay up really late watching horror movies. And so then we
now it's the kind of horror movies we never watched, other than that one time, which I learned my lesson, satanic, slasher movies. They were more
tense, it would be kind of like Sixth Sense or something. So
right,
horror
yeah.
movies, scary shows, and then we couldn't sleep. And it's
and we shared a bedroom in the basement that was only partially finished.
So Emily would take me, because I didn't have a job at this point, so it was obviously before I was 16. You would take me to, sometimes we'd go to D's, sometimes Denny's, but we discovered that Denny's had the better nachos. So we would go to Denny's at 2 a.m. or something, and we just did all sorts of fun things together. Had a great time together. And it's really just been since then.
We've always been close since then.
Before that, I was closer in age with my sister Catherine, and she and I did a lot of stuff together until we were more older teens, and then kind of had different friend groups and stuff. And that's when Emily and I became really close. So been ever since then.
I know, more than 10,000 days.
Long time. Just a few. All right. Well, shop news.
All right. Yes.
I just had a shop update. I released a new collection called Le Cirque Magnifique. Can't even say it. It's French. I'm not French. I'm so American. And it's a circus themed collection. There's 5 colorways. There's still a few in my shop, but I'm not restocking anything in my shop until after Mother's Day weekend here in the U.S. That's the first weekend in May, because I will be a vendor at the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair. And because I work part-time dyeing yarn, I need to put that time into preparing for being a vendor. And I love doing it so much, and it has been several years. And so I'm kind of nervous, but getting back into it. But I love it. I love this one. So I've been trying to get some things in my shop, because all of my customers online, you're the reason why I have a business. So I wanted to make sure that you got the yarns first, and now I'll be, beyond what's in the shop, I'm going to be working on stuff for the Fiber Arts Fair. But after that, then there will be a lot of things that are going into the shop. There'll be a whole big slew shop update. But I've been making stitch markers of all sorts of and varieties, and little 5-gram gumball mini grab bags and sock tubes. So I'm gonna have sock tubes there where you can get the sock tube, and then you can pick a mini, because I'll have my gumball mini jars that I do when I'm a vendor, and you can kind of pick what you want to go with it. And I'm going to have my Sprinkles DK yarn there, and oh my goodness, I have a sample knitter, Becky, who is from Granny Pan Knits podcast. She's showing this on her podcast that will be coming out any second if it's not out already. She knit a sample sweater for me with it. Ooh. It's so cute. So anyways, I'll have that there. Lots of fun things. So go to my shop because I've put a few colorways in. Like there's one that I haven't done before, or I haven't done for several years. The Kindness is Like Sugar sock set. That was the very last thing I made before I closed my shop back in 2019. And so I only made it that one time, and I just put some in my shop. There's quite a few fun things there, but after May 8th, something like that, once I do inventory and photographs and stuff, there'll be lots of fun things in there. New mohair colors. Lots of fun things. So,
and if you're local, come to the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair, which is again
it's in
Mother's
Farmington, and the Farmington Fairgrounds.
You'll be able to find it.
Yeah, if you just look up Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair, you'll find that information and when it is. And there's quite a few fun local people here that are going to be a vendor there. I know that Christy of Yarn Cafe Creations will also be there. So yeah, come to that and check out what's in my shop right now. Because, I made sure to put a whole bunch of fun things in there.
That's exciting. All right, another one in the books.
All right.
Next episode will be episode 70.
All right, we're doing pretty good.
We're turning 70.
We're turning 70. You know what? I can't believe that
it's been this long.
We're still doing this. And we haven't really changed anything.
I know. This is almost, I think, 4.5 years. In August, it will be 5 years.
And we just do the same thing again and again and again. And it's fun.
Thank you for liking us, being our friends. Definitely answer the question in the comments so we can see what your favorite age has been. And we'll be back next time.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.